Welcome to ecotopiaumedia. I'm your host, Melissa McGinnis, joined by my co-host, Tom Wright. We have a lovely guest today joining us via Skype, Brenda Platt. She's the co-director for the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. Nice to see you again, Brenda.
Yes, same here. Thank you.
Well, you've continued to educate us on different matters, specifically compostability. I know that you had mentioned that you helped provide some information to the Atlanta airport, and I know that they're one of the busiest airports globally, and they've now switched to sustainable, like to-go containers or food service trays. Tell us about that.
All right, so I was happy to be able to work on that project and impact them. So, you know, Atlanta, I think by some statistics, is the biggest airport. So it's such an opportunity when you have those many travelers traveling through the space to, you know, educate them, use as an opportunity. So the Atlanta airport has 10-year contracts with all their food vendors. And so that's a long time. And the contract was up for renewal. And my friend Holly Elmore at Elemental Impact in Atlanta, she was the person who started the Atlanta Zero Waste Zones, kind of the restaurant sector, and is a big player in composting and organics recovery down in Atlanta. And she said, Brenda, the contract's up for renewal. This is an opportunity for us to get something in there to require vendors to do something. So I, helped her, showing her that, these same vendors who are operating in Seattle and San Francisco, cities that long ago passed restrictions on styrofoam and called for compostable, reusable, recyclable ware, were already doing it. So the Starbucks and the fast food chains, they're all the same ones in the airport, or a lot of them are the same, and so if they could do it in other cities, why not in Atlanta? And that the industry, I think Seattle, Dick Lilly in Seattle was the first to tell me that when they first were looking at their food service requirements, there were only 70 products certified that were compostable in the food service industry. And then by the time they passed their law, there were 400.
Wow.
Well, today it's like 5,000.
Okay.
Okay, so
no excuses. No excuses anymore.
No, I mean, used to you couldn't get the lids for the coffee cups. Maybe the spoons would melt. So there was not only not enough products, because to do a competitive bid, you usually need 3 vendors. Otherwise, if you sole source it to one guy who's making the straws or the forks, problems with the procurement office, I hear. I don't know about the Atlanta airport on that particular thing. I'm just saying in general for procurement officers, they like to see at least 3 vendors be able to meet their bids so they can have a competitive bid. And that's not an issue anymore. I mean, I don't know for every single application, but generally for so many of the products, cups and, takeaway containers and soup containers and lids, cutlery, it's available now. And so when the contract was up for renewal, I think we put in one sentence got put in that food concessionaires, as they're called for the airport, had to have their forward-facing packaging, what was in front for the consumer, here I am doing it myself.
Citizens,
the traveler to see, had to be compostable. And so that got in there, and of course the vendors want to continue with their contracts. I don't even know if they read that. I mean, who knows? I don't even know how long that 10-year contract was that they had to sign, but it was in there. So then it became, well, what does that mean? How do we enforce that? How do we do outreach to the vendors? So then I worked directly with the airport and with Holly at Elemental Impact to develop a series of fact sheets about why it's important, what is a certified product, where can you find them, what's excluded, like, ketchup packets and things like that. If you're selling, something that's pre-packaged, potato chips, it doesn't need to be in a compostable potato chip bag, but things that you're making on site. So not to get into the weeds too much, but that was actually very exciting to be able to influence in a purchasing spec, a site as big as the Atlanta airport, which by some measure could be the single largest buyer potentially of compostable ware, in the world.
does the Atlanta airport buy from an individual company, or does each vendor get to make their own packaging decisions as long as it was compostable?
I think each vendor makes it. The airport is not buying it, but HMO Host is the one who's really, a big player in the airport. And they were on board. They're doing this elsewhere. So when we were developing the fact sheet packet, we had them reviewing it and were very helpful at every step of the way. So I can't recall any obstacles or challenges or complaints. Not that I was directly dealing with the individual brands, but and I haven't been involved more recently. I'm a big fan of high quality materials and keeping things source separated. So especially when it comes to organics, we don't want like broken glass getting in. Broken glass is the bane of all compost systems, and I know it's been challenging, to keep things segregated. Contamination is always an issue. So it doesn't mean that the Atlanta airport has an easy, path ahead of it, but I think it's on, well on the way, on the road.
So one of the add-ons, if you will, not just selling an item in a compostable package, but then you have to have the capture spot for the package to go into to be composted.
That's right, and you have to have a site that's willing to take it. And, a lot of composters, even commercial ones, don't want all that compostable packaging. I mean, they want the food waste, but in a lot of venues, like, I've seen street festivals, they use compostable ware, and the bags coming out of street festivals have actually very little food waste. Looks like bags of just packaging. So if you're a composter, you want the food waste, and the packaging may, compostable ware and plates may be a way to get the food waste, but loads and loads of just single-use packaging, even if it's compostable, is not really ideal. So I just think we have a lot of work to do to move towards durable products. Even in airports, there's a lot of, opportunities for durable products. I remember many years ago I was working for Atlantic City in New Jersey on the boardwalk. And, all of us who've been to boardwalks, on any seaside, it's all single-use products. And I thought, well, a boardwalk tourist destination could come up with durable products that are branded. You pay a deposit, you can take it back to an independent washing place. Could be a number, you get your money back, or if you wanted it as a souvenir, you could keep it. There's so many different ways that we're not even doing yet to move towards a zero waste economy or one that's more efficient.
But it sounds like you helped at least the Atlanta airport make that first step.
Yes,
so we're heading in the right direction.
Yes, I agree. And the Atlanta airport is really interested in developing its own facility on site on some of the land it owns to handle its materials and be more self-reliant. So it's not at the whim of some, commercial composter who may not succeed. So I think that's part of the long-term plan for that facility.
That would be great too, because then they could start incorporating some of the airlines' recyclability and compostability.
Well, it's the most intriguing thing about the whole idea of incorporating airports is because it's not just the physical airport that they could do it for. It's definitely the airplanes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Brenda. We just always learn so much from you, and I hope we can visit with you again soon.
Anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.